one of the last videos, it was all about the campaign that Dave ran. After all, Zoo Mafia was a game, and if you're not familiar with Zoo Mafia, we've done a whole bunch of videos here on the channel. You should definitely go back and watch those before you finish up this one.
Yeah, Zoo Mafia, ZooMafiaRPG.com is the link that'll take you to the newsletter for Zoo Mafia, where you can download the free quick start rules, but also like any information about Zoo Mafia is going to come out over there. We actually are very light touch on that newsletter. We don't use it that particularly often, but I will say I feel like that's a good place for us to group people together who, maybe you're going to PAX Unplugged and you would like to play Zoo Mafia with us. We'll send out a newsletter blast, before PAX Unplugged, maybe with some kind of sign up sheet or something, so that we can figure out how to connect with people. And, maybe we'll do it, put you in a Discord together or something like that, but a way for us to reach out to you. So, at PAX Unplugged, we can get together and me and Ted can run some games.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
And I'm Nerdarchy Dave.
Welcome to Nerdarchy.
For nerds, by nerds.
All right, so I think it's time to kind of go back and look at Zoo Mafia because we've played some games.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we've run a full campaign on the channel that people can check out. And, but not only that, we've now played for a bunch of different groups and a bunch of different people. I think we're closing in on 20 sessions of Zoo Mafia, so we've got a decent amount of playtesting going on. Which we're still, it's ongoing. We're still doing more, and we're closing in having played with, including ourselves, 30 people at this point.
Absolutely, and it's across a lot of different platforms and areas and what have you. So it's been a lot of fun, and we've really but we've gotten the ability to kind of tweak and playtest and change up like the starting adventure because it's been run so many different times now.
And also finding things in the quick start rules that we missed. Like there's always something, right? And every time we go through, like, oh, this thing needs to be amended or changed or fixed. So it's ever expanding, but like all the tweaks that we're making too are very small.
Right. But it's come at the hands of other game designers, other people who have like, oh, were you aware of this, or this could be done better this way? And it's been great because we've gotten, in my opinion, nothing but positive feedback.
Yeah, like the feedback we've gotten have been like, the tweaks generally have been very minor or small. At this point, we've played with at least 4 other industry professionals. We've got a streamer, couple game designers, and also someone that's like adjacent but in the industry, makes terrain and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's been an absolute blast, and you see the people really getting into the character and the mindset. So it's just been an absolute blast.
So one of the things too, since the last time we did an actual Zoo Mafia video, you hadn't run it yet. You had played in a bunch of games, but you hadn't run it.
Yeah, and that was one of those things that at first, it was like, all right, well, we're definitely planning to go out into the world and do this. I know at this point in time, we're still planning to kind of like do some, guerrilla style things here, there, what have you. We're definitely looking to run some games at PAX Unplugged. But one of the last videos, it was all about the campaign that Dave ran. After all, Zoo Mafia was a game, and if you're not familiar with Zoo Mafia, we've done a whole bunch of videos here on the channel. You should definitely go back and watch those before you finish up this one.
Yeah, Zoo Mafia, ZooMafiaRPG.com is the link that'll take you to the newsletter for Zoo Mafia, where you can download the free quick start rules, but also like any information about Zoo Mafia is going to come out over there. We actually are very light touch on that newsletter. We don't use it that particularly often, but I will say I feel like that's a good place for us to group people together who, maybe you're going to PAX Unplugged and you would like to play Zoo Mafia with us. We'll send out a newsletter blast, before PAX Unplugged, maybe with some kind of sign up sheet or something, so that we can figure out how to connect with people. And, maybe we'll do it, put you in a Discord together or something like that, but a way for us to reach out to you. So, at PAX Unplugged, we can get together and me and Ted can run some games.
Absolutely. So it was one of those things that I was just a player and hadn't really had a chance to get in there and do it. So I wound up taking Zoo Mafia with me to D&D in a castle, and I'm like, all right, let's crack the knuckles and get into doing it. But in kind of steps of planning, unfortunately, Dave, a family member of Dave's wound up getting sick like the day of or the day before a gaming session. And he's like, sorry, man, I can't show up. So kind of impromptu, our gaming group was like, well, do you guys want to check out Zoo Mafia? And I wound up running, there. And this was like a week or so right before D&D in a castle. So I was already getting in that headspace of I need to run this anyway. So of the 3 times that I ran it between the session at home and the 2 at the castle, I made tweaks each time. So for me as a GM, I wasn't running the exact same adventure. I wanted to do things different because I wanted to see how that would all work and what have you. And then I've run it multiple times afterwards as well. So I've run 5 sessions, all different iterations of either that starting adventure that's in the quick start or 2 separate things that, because Dave was a player in both of those games, it was like, all right, well, I need to do something different because he wrote this one and I don't want to shove him down something that he's already aware of all the particulars.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a different philosophy for running it. Like my intent and what I've done so far is every time that I run with new players, I'm running the starting job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tweak it. I'm not going to change it. And I do that because I want to see how different players respond to the same stimuli, the same job. Sure. And in essence, right, one is trying to break things, with different players. And 2, I'm just fascinated as the GM. In this case, we call the GM the zookeeper,
right?
With how players are going to respond. And, in the job that I ran you guys through, the very first one, that's kind of like our standard, starting adventure.
Right.
And so, having run it for another group, they totally did things completely different, right? Like when you guys went through it, you guys had a hideout already. They didn't have a hideout. So they had to figure out where are they going to hide the goods they just stole until they can do it, right? In both instances, a picture was taken that something needed to be done about it. And the way that the 2 different groups went about addressing that was very interesting. They both involved, interpersonal interactions to a certain degree. One went with like seduction and fire, and the other one not so much. So it was kind of fun to see how the different players we're gonna get through these different problems.
Well, I mean, sometimes you've got groups that are like, all right, well, there's a problem. They're like, is it really a problem? So one of the groups is just like, well, you know what, it happened, and they're just gonna leave it out there.
Yeah.
The one time I didn't include the Outback Alice, aspect of it at all. And the other one was like, all right, we're just going to go and we're going to off this person. So it's one of those things. It's like, all right, you can go in any which direction because, like all other role-playing games, you've got carte blanche to do as you want. And if it's a mafia thing, it's a mafia thing. You piss off the wrong people and you're going to die.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things too, having seen it played a bunch of times. So, one of the things we wanted it to be, even though it's still a rules-like game, is kind of brutal. Mm-hmm. The combat is very fast and dirty.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the aspects I really like. I think D&D players have a little bit of trouble wrapping their head around it because they're waiting for their turn.
Right.
But it's powered by Apocalypse, so it's not so much that you have a turn. It's like when you want to do something, you just say you're going to do something. Mm-hmm. And in combat, that really works out good in the sense that it speeds things up because I don't roll against you and I don't attack you as the GM generally, but based on what you do, kind of determines outcomes. Now, if players were to say, and it is a situation where violence is going to break out, and the players can't really avoid it by saying, we do nothing. So if we roll no dice, nothing happens. Because that's where the GM, in a Powered by Apocalypse game, can step in and hard move you, which is just like, just something happens, and now it has to be responded to.
Right. Something bad happens, and either you get put in a hard situation, you're just straight up taking damage. Typically I use dice in the game for either hit point trackers for anything that's not a mook, or just to all right, I need to roll randomly to determine who I'm doing something to or what have you. So it's very easy, from the GM perspective of it's hands off. You just kind of put things out there and see how the players respond.
And what kind of animals have we seen so far in our zoos?
Well, I mean, at this point in time, I've lost track. I've seen loads of. I haven't seen much in the way of insects. Doug played a spider in our first game, but beyond that,
we had a spider, a constrictor, an owl,
and an otter.
An otter. We've seen a capybara. I'm not saying that right.
Capybara.
Mm-hmm. We've seen a capybara in one of your games. I believe there was a hawk.
Yep.
In one of your games, there was a kangaroo.
Yep.
I've played an armadillo and a tortoise.
The tortoise was funny.
We've had a toucan. We've had a vampire bat.
We had a vampire bat named Vlad.
We've had a red panda.
We had a red panda. That was your wife.
I've seen a mouse. I've seen a stag.
Oh, I haven't seen a stag.
I've seen a fox. And I'm trying to think what my wife played in that first game. I am not sure. It was probably something cute and cuddly like a koala or something.
Koala or a quokka?
It wasn't a quokka. Maybe a koala, but I'm not. Oh, no, a capuchin monkey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Despite all of this, I'm not really seeing rhino and hippo and lion, the polar bear. I was really expecting to see a lot of people lean in the direction of these bigger animals because it is this big and brutal. But it's just not happening. And
the hit person or button in the one game that I ran, in the games that I ran, have been an owl and the stag.
Well, we had a warthog in this last one,
yes.
which was funny because he was trying to impersonate Carlo Gambino.
Yes, one of the crime bosses in Zoo Mafia.
So all in all, a lot of fun. We're seeing a diverse selection of animals and not a huge amount of crossover. I mean, there might be a little. I believe there's been a couple monkeys. Lots of different flying critters, between the owl, the hawk, the toucan, and I believe there's been a couple of more. At one point in time, I thought I was starting a list, and I don't know where that list is.
Yeah. Well, I will say one of the fun things that I've experienced playing the game is everyone has picked their animal in the spirit of the game and not in what is the most advantageous animal, right? Because in Zoo Mafia, you pick your animal, but there's no mechanics tied to it. There's no stats to it. The way the game works is it's what makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. You're a bird with wings. Well, you can fly, right? If you're something that's aquatic, you can swim. And then, the GM interprets how that's going to operate in the world, right? If you're a creature that lives in the trees and is arboreal, the GM's probably not going to make you roll, depending on your zookeeper. They're probably not going to make you roll to climb a tree like I wouldn't.
Right.
But if you're a bear, or something else, although bears do climb trees depending on the type of bear. But
your warthog has got to make a wild roll if they want to try and get up that tree.
Yeah. They might have to, right? If they're under pressure or something like that, or there's something particularly difficult about it.
Right. And that's one of the things that I feel is, pretty fun and, has been very enjoyable over the course of the game. That, while a lot of us come from this D&D mindset of, well, what do I get for this choice? It's more all right, what is going to be fun and interesting for me to play?
Yeah, so all of that has been a blast.
If you're looking to get your paws on those free quick start rolls, you can head over to ZooMafiaRPG.com, sign up for that newsletter, and get that download.
You can also check out some Zoo Mafia articles over on the website. Articles like, we create a Powered by Apocalypse playbook, The Driver. What do you guys think? Have you tried Zoo Mafia RPG yet? Are you checking it out? Are you going to check it out? Let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think. What kind of animal do you want to play in Zoo Mafia? Share your ideas and thoughts down in the comments below with the Nerdarchy community.
While you're down there, don't forget to do all those fun things that help Nerdarchy appease that YouTube algorithm. Like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and click on that notification bell so you don't miss a single video.
Quick reminder, we drop new videos here several times a week, so come on back, but you can't wait till no worries, we've got you covered. There's a playlist up here for our design diaries for Zoo Mafia.
So until next time, stay nerdy.